All right, Jeff.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Immune Intelligence 2020. My name is Jeff Olson, and welcome to March of 2020. What a few past couple of weeks. For sure, these are historic and unprecedented times, a bit surreal, I would say, amidst big uncertainty. What's fascinating to me, though, is juxtaposed to all of this is something that is also historic and unprecedented, but very real and certain, which is stood the test of time, and that is to let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. It's a tale of two cities. It's also a tale of two immune systems, best of times, worst of times. It depends, right? We're over 7,000 strong, it looks like, here tonight tuning in, which speaks to the fact that when fear and anxiety and uncertainty hit, when the shizzle hits the fan, we all seek clarity, wisdom, certainty from the experts. Dr. Mitra Ray is a tried and proven expert. She brings over 30 years experience to bear on tonight's topic. She has a bachelor's degree from Cornell and a PhD from Stanford, and she knows the biochemistry of durable health. I call it durable health. As a research scientist at Stanford, she received NIH grants and received the Young Investigator Award from the Federation of American Societies in Experimental Biology. Her research has been published in the prestigious journals of Science, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and the Journal of Cell Biology. During her time at Stanford, Dr. Ray, or Mitra, had a teachable moment in her own health journey that changed the course of her life and her life's work. For decades, she's been educating audiences around the world in the power of healthy living and of whole food nutrition. She's a scientist, she's an author, speaker, educator, entrepreneur, mentor, most importantly, a mom on a mission. One of my favorite quotes is, "We tend to bask in the false coziness of unapplied knowledge." And she is all about the application of science, doing the do. She's empowered and helped hundreds of thousands walk the talk, align science and compliance, and do the do of what you know you should be doing. What I love about her is she embodies intellectual rigor, a brave heart, curiosity, and humility. She's even got a cocktail named after her. She's cool. But in the end, I consider her a boss babe, a badassery, if you will, in the world of healthy living. She lives with her husband in Marysville, Washington. They're the proud parents of 3 healthy, strong daughters. I'm honored to call her my friend, my colleague, and mentor. We here in this global healthy living community call her a friendly free radical. My nickname for her is Yoda. Mitra, welcome, and thank you for sharing your intellect, your heart, and your insights with us tonight.
Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate that tremendous introduction. And I want to actually check. Okay, looks like it's working. I wanted to see if we'd have closed captioning for our viewers that are not able to hear. Okay, and now I'm going to share my screen, so bear with me as I do a little technical stuff. Okay, great. So I appreciate that incredible introduction, Jeff. And who feels like they're a little bit on guard right now, right? You know, that's kind of actually a scary picture. Honestly, if you had to stare at a picture, which one do you feel would be more helpful to your immune system right now? This one or this one? You guessed it. Let's all take a deep breath. I know I need to. I wasn't sure if all the technology was going to work tonight. And I just am very honored to be with you tonight. I want to start with my own story. 26 years ago, I was in bad shape, but I didn't think I was. If you had asked me if I thought I was healthy, I would have said yes. After all, I had regular physical exams and everything seemed to be fine on the surface. The reality is that my lifestyle as a researcher was one of poor sleeping habits, mindless eating habits, and daily exposure to dangerous toxins and radiation. I was married to my science and didn't really know much about what it took to be healthy. And even though I was being funded by the National Institutes of Health to study cancer and Alzheimer's disease. And it wasn't until I had a serious injury in my neck that I had to take a hard look at my own lifestyle. I'll share more of my own story later as we go, but let's dive into the topic of the day, immune intelligence. The reason I say intelligence is because I cannot think of a better word than that to describe the complexity of our immune system, as it's our defense system. And defense systems require gathering intelligence about what may be trying to invade our host body, and then creating an intelligent strategy to defend ourselves. The good news is that our immune system is usually quite capable of doing its job as long as it's properly funded. Our immunity starts from the outside in and gets very complex as we dive in at the cellular level. On the outside, we have physiological barriers. The first is our skin, which provides a physical barrier to the outside world. Fatty acids make up the membrane of the skin cells. We also have a repertoire of antibodies called defensins. Then we have lysozymes, which basically break down the membranes of bacteria. And we have friendly bacteria known as commensal flora that live on our skin. And this is all part of the skin's immunity. Much of the time, you need not worry about your skin unless you cut yourself or you're so dry that you have cracks in your skin, in which case your immune system targets the area to make sure the cut doesn't get infected by bacteria or other small organisms. The redness and the swelling that follows is also known as inflammation, the result of your immune system fighting what is usually a small battle in the scheme of things. Our skin can also be a transient carrier for viruses, bacteria, and other microorganisms. And that is why washing your hands with soap, lathering up, is always recommended when you're out in public. Okay, the mucosa of the respiratory system, as well as in the solution in your eye, is the next big barrier to the outside world. As we breathe in air, we also have to defend ourselves from breathing in microorganisms, especially viruses. I used to get sick on long international flights, being stuck in a small space with international passengers. And then with the time zone difference, I wouldn't get proper sleep. So now my favorite trick when I fly on a plane for any amount of time is to put Vaseline in my nostrils. I find that the petroleum jelly, as opposed to some kind of natural product, is a much better trap to basically capture viruses in your nostrils. It's not 100%, but it's pretty darn good. Now, the mucosa of the gut is basically, I'm gonna give this away right now. In my mind, is the most important barrier for us to concern ourselves with, where we have the most control. And your gut immunity is also the factor that's probably the least talked about, although that's changing, because it's so complex. So that requires a more in-depth discussion, and I'll get into that. So why do we have these barriers? It's to protect ourselves from foreign substances. So let's get into some vocabulary. A pathogen could be a microorganism like bacteria or a virus or a mold or other parasites. The part of the pathogen that induces an immune response is called the antigen. An antigen could also simply be a chemical like a pollutant, or it could be pollen. So an antigen is anything that our immune system makes antibodies for as a way to protect ourselves. The immune system is typically divided into two general categories, the innate and the adaptive, although there's some overlap. The innate immunity refers to your non-specific defense mechanisms. So these come into play immediately or within hours after exposure to an antigen. These mechanisms include chemicals and immune system cells that attack foreign cells in the body. Now, the adaptive immunity refers to the immune response that happens a little bit later and is specific to the antigen of the day. Okay, I don't know about you, but I love to geek out on how cool your body is. Your immune system is amazing. Honestly, look at these graphics. Now, even though they're cartoons, don't those cells look like they're from outer space or something? You'll need to study this because there's going to be a quiz coming up. So if we were to be infected, we all have our own baseline capacity to deal with an infection. That's your innate immunity. It's our 24/7 surveillance system. This team will contain the situation as best as possible while our body has a chance to send intelligence gained by the innate system and take it over to the war machine that is our adaptive immunity. Then we go to war with the pathogen, and if we have enough what I call immune currency units, we have every reason to win. But whether we like it or not, the war has to be properly funded. Now, this seems like a ton of info to know for what you thought was a simple self-help event. I feel you. So let's go back to these little space creatures, or the space creature looking cells. I was thinking that it takes so much time and energy and effort to learn the immune system that we should start teaching our kids in school, or maybe even earlier. I mean, it makes me want to create little fluorescent immune cell crib toys to start teaching our babies right away. What do you think? Okay, well, in that picture I showed you in the beginning of you defending yourself against microbes, well, guess what? Inside you, there are trillions of bacteria, and in nature, there's usually a 1-to-10 ratio of bacteria to virus. So there's probably hundreds of trillions of viruses inside you already. The main point of our immune intelligence has been, the main point that I'm trying to make is that our immune intelligence has been passed down to us from millions of years of evolution of our species on this planet. We just have to fund the immune system properly, and your immune system has your back. It is designed also to see new potential threats and act accordingly. But you have to have reserves in your bank to fight the war. So when you see an your immune system is up to the task of fighting it. So I'm just kind of testing to see if you're with me or not. Which of these will improve your innate or adaptive immunity? Neither. Okay, so I told you that when we are under attack by outside elements, the war that ensues has to be funded. Let me introduce my way of explaining the big picture, the concept of immune currency units and your immunity vault. And what you want to start with each day is a minimum of 100 immune currency units. That minimum ICU balance can buy you the full capacity of your adaptive immunity to kick in, most likely. To intelligently assess the nature of the antigen, is it actually a life-threatening virus or not? Or maybe it's just pollen. Our immune system needs to respond accordingly without overreacting or underreacting. That is immune intelligence, and you need ICUs to buy that intelligence. According to an article published in Guardian in 2017, on average, each of us will get around 200 colds in our lifetime. Who wants to be average? More importantly, who wants to get 200 colds? This fact tells me that most people's immune systems are underfunded. In my immune currency model, if you could consistently start each day with a minimum of 100 ICUs in your immune vault, you shouldn't have that many colds, and you shouldn't be too challenged by invading pathogens. And I base my model on current research, as well as my personal experience with me, my family, and my client base of many thousands of people. So instead of this becoming a medical seminar on how the immune system works, which we really don't have anyway because it's incredibly complex, I will talk about what helps you build your daily ICUs, your immune currency units, and what does not. Okay, this picture might be a bit exaggerated, but let's assess the situation a little more closely. I told you there was going to be a quiz, but relax. This is more of a BuzzFeed-like quiz than an immunology quiz. First question, do you smoke regularly, or have you smoked for your entire life? I'm just going to talk about today. If today you had a cigarette, subtract -2 20 ICUs, okay? Start keeping tabs for this quiz. Do you drink alcohol regularly? Minus 20 ICUs for the first 2 drinks, and then thereafter it's minus 30 ICUs for each additional drink. I'm going to explain more about why this affects your immune system, but for now we're taking a quiz. Do you get out in the sun, or do you get adequate amounts of vitamin D3? Minus 40 ICUs for each day that you don't. Do you worry constantly or anger easily? Minus 20 ICUs per 30 seconds of negative thought. Do you sleep well at night? Minus 50 ICUs. Sleep is a big deal. Minus 50 ICUs per night of poor sleep. Do you exercise regularly? Minus 20 ICUs per day lacking exercise. And finally, do you have a sad American diet full of processed foods and animal products? That's minus 60 to 80 immune currency units per SAD meal or snack. How do we do? Anyone a little bit in ICU debt? You may be wondering, how am I still alive, right? Let's talk about how we can get out of debt and into ICU surplus so we can enjoy the benefits of a robust immune system. Did you know that cigarette smoke contains more than 7,000 chemicals, and many of them interfere with your immune system? Most people know that smoking causes cancer, especially lung cancer. I also want to remind us that smoking increases the chances of viral and bacterial infections, especially in the lungs. For example, pneumonia, influenza, tuberculosis. It also affects periodontal and gum disease. It can cause or exacerbate bacterial meningitis, which is a disease that attacks the protective membranes covering the brain and the spinal cord. It causes more infections after surgery, most likely. It also exacerbates rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's disease, which is a serious disease of the digestive system. So this is a really good time to stop smoking, or at least start curbing your smoking habits. And you can also start to reverse some of that damage by taking a plant powder concentrate that has been clinically shown to improve pulmonary function in heavy smokers. I'll be talking more about this Juice Plus later. Now, there are countless studies about alcohol consumption and how it impairs mucosal immunity in the lower respiratory system and the mucosal system of the gut that we talked about earlier. Alcohol also results in something called neuroinflammation activation, which increases risky decision-making. It also increases promoting and sustaining high levels of drinking. This simply means one drink can lead to more drinking. Also, it means that if you started drinking when you were young, chances are you're going to keep drinking into your old age. This also plays a significant role in neural degeneration as well as immunity in the body. So it affects your brain and your immune system. On the other hand, each 8-ounce glass of pure water, give yourself 30 ICUs, okay, that you drink. Now, did you think that 20 ICUs was a lot to lose from just 30 seconds of negative thinking? It is, but it's true. In one study, Harvard University scientists found that in healthy people, simply recalling an angry experience from the past can cause a dip in your immune system that lasts 6 hours. Wow. The good news is that while one angry thought or memory can inhibit the immune system for 6 hours, simply watching a humorous video or anything that makes you laugh can help your immune system function better for 12 hours. So we got to get some good jokes in here. Now, how does sleep affect your immunity? Well, we talked about your adaptive immunity. This requires sleep. Have you ever experienced brain fog from not getting enough sleep? Well, what this picture is actually showing you is how you need to have your immune systems. When you're sleeping is when your immune system is learning more about the antigen. So your immune system can also have brain fog from not sleeping. Your immune intelligence requires a good night's sleep to gather the information it needs for what kind of an antigen we're dealing with, so it can go to work to make effective antibodies as well as other strategies of the immune system and remembering the information for future reference. So let's get some sleep and rack up those in immune currency units. Okay, we talked about exercise. How much exercise? Exercise is important to get in the right dose. In this graph, if you look at exercise intensity along the horizontal axis, and we go from being a couch potato to moderate to someone who over-exercises, basically, there's something called the J curve for how exercise intensity correlates to the risk of respiratory infections. At 0 or low levels of exercise, you have an average chance of getting infected. And as you exercise more, it first decreases until you get too much exercise. So you might say, well, I'll take my chances and not exercise much and just, be one of those people that gets average of 200 colds a year. Well, there's a reverse J curve for heart disease. So no exercise or low amounts of exercise really increases your chances of cardiovascular disease. So moderate is the way to go. And this means about 150 minutes a week, which works out to about 20 minutes a day. So if you're an elite athlete, you're saying, well, what does that mean for me? Well, you can flatten this curve by eating more of a rainbow colored plant-based diet. These plants protect your body from the free radical damage that occurs from too much exercise. I talked about plant concentrates already, which is beautiful food technology I really believe in. It's not just a vitamin supplement, mind you, and I do not believe in vitamin supplementation in general. However, people who exercise spend most of their money on they spend the most money on supplements. So I wanted to point out this retrospective overview of the literature on exercise and supplementation. A search of Medline, PubMed, and the Cochrane Library returned only six original published clinical research articles of any kind that pertain to exercising people and their immune systems. Only one plant concentrate demonstrated any kind of positive impact on the immune system in this published clinical research. So I will say that moderate exercise supported by plant nutrition will give you lots of ICUs in your immune vault. Now, we talked about sunshine. Ideally, you want to get 30 minutes of sun twice a week, and that's worth 40 ICUs in the bank. But let's talk ideal versus real, because too many of us don't have access to sunlight, especially the further you get away from the equator. You can supplement with vitamin D2 or D3. It's not really a vitamin, it's hormones. But with D2, there's very little chance of overdosing. On the other hand, D3 will get you up to proper levels faster, but there is a risk of overdosing. D3 comes from either lanolin in sheep's wool or from lichen, which is algae. And for all the animal lovers out there, don't stress too much about the small amounts of animal products in your D3 supplement. And that's a direct quote from PETA and their website. And PETA stands for People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I personally recommend, as a rule of thumb, 5,000 IUs in the summer and 10,000 IUs in the winter. And also you may want to get your blood tested for vitamin D every 6 months. Now we come to the final and perhaps the most important source of ICUs to lose or gain, our diet. I believe this is a lot easier to change than people think it is, especially if you take advantage of the food technology of our times. So let's explore more about how your gut mucosa protects you, as this is where most of your ICUs go daily. We have over 20 feet of intestinal tubing between our small and large intestines. And for the longest time, our intestines were not considered a vital organ like our heart or liver or brain. Well, that's changing. Now imagine this tubing. Down the center of this intestinal tube is your gut mucosa. And in that gut mucosa live trillions of bacteria of many different species. It's like a whole universe down there. And what we feed that bacterial universe can either support or challenge our immunity. This is a very simple drawing showing a cross section now of that mucosa and where the bacteria live and the gut lining. The blue part represents the mucosa and the bacteria that live there, and they're supposed to break down plants that we eat and turn them into important nutrients that we need to live a healthy life. They also help us with our immune system. The left side represents a healthy bacterial colony and a normal immune system versus the one on the right, which is not so healthy and which leads to immune disorders. In other words, an immune system in ICU debt, which creates long-term health challenges such as autoimmune diseases, allergies, and metabolic disorders. The blue top represents the gut mucosa, where there are trillions of bacteria that break down the food that we eat and make the nutrients that we absorb. Every time I eat, there are these little dendritic cells in the immune system that literally periscope out into that lumen to see what the heck I just ate and what kind of pathogens might have come along for the ride. Because every time you eat, you are introducing microorganisms from the outside. The message of these cells that they relay back to the immune system is going to be either, oh, phew, she just had a kale smoothie with lots of nuts and seeds and some Juice Plus Complete. We love that stuff. All is good. Or it's red alert, incoming, incoming. So let's take a look at another picture of the gut and dive in a little bit deeper. Again, on the top left side, you see what we call a diverse set of helpful bacteria, and they're out there doing their thing. But on the right side, those little brown critters represent an overgrowth of parasites that feed off of processed foods or animal tissue. Now, your intestines are such a nice place for microorganisms. It's warm and cozy in there, and there's an endless supply of food. They love to hang out in there and have sex and eat food and multiply. And I use the word sex loosely because a lot of kinky exchange of DNA is happening down there. So either way, your diet is either going to feed the good microorganisms or the bad ones. The question is, who do you want to feed? Like it or not, the good guys tend to be plant eaters. So on the right side is the result of the sad American diet, rich in processed foods with usually simple carbohydrates and animal products and devoid of the fiber and the plant phytonutrients that feed a healthy gut flora. On the left side, we have a healthy gut due to a diet that is plant strong and made up of whole foods. Below is the resulting immune function. Either you have an inflamed gut, which causes your entire immune system to go out of balance over time, or you have a working, inherent, intelligent immune system, and that is balanced, which is what you see on the left side. Let me share how I healed my gut. 26 years ago, I had inflammation in my neck, and I was buying ibuprofen in bulk. Even though I was walking the halls with Nobel laureates at Stanford Medical School, no one told me that the inflammation in my neck wasn't healing due to the inflammation in my gut. In search of answers, I began a juicing regimen. It was at that time someone brought me this brochure on a product called Juice Plus. It compared how many glasses of juice I would have to drink made of the same 7 fruits and 8 veggies that were in the original fruit and veggie blend. I noticed that I would have to drink several glasses of all that variety to get the same amount of vitamin C, B complex, beta carotene, etc., which all help not just our immune system, but every cell in the body. I also noticed that I would get a fraction of the sugar as juicing. All that nutrition without the sugar and the calories, not to mention the work and the cost involved in juicing. I said, sign me up, and I've never looked back. As a biochemist, I got that this technology existed as I used it in the lab regularly to dehydrate cells. People say they eat right, but most people aren't getting the synergy of whole foods. No one fruit or veg has an overdose of any one nutrient. They each have a cornucopia of thousands of phytonutrients that effectively work together to feed your body. The technology used to make Juice Plus takes vine-ripened produce like this apple, crushes it down, and then makes it into a whole food powder under controlled conditions, and then puts it into a plant-based capsule. So you can safely top off your vitamin C levels with Juice Plus, and you can see that it does that because 8 weeks into taking this trio of fruit, veggie, and berry blend, you see the rise of vitamin C and it stays up there. So that means you're topped off with your vitamin C. By the way, no fruit or vegetable has 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, nor do you have receptors for 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. An apple will typically only have 5 milligrams of vitamin C. Yet, we can all agree that an apple will do more good than a vitamin pill because of all those other nutrients that I just showed you that work in synergy with that vitamin C. I'm not a believer in overdosing on anything, including vitamins. And there's plenty of research showing it's not a good idea to take large doses of single nutrients. We don't have vitamin deficiencies, we have whole food deficiencies. Juice Plus is an encapsulated whole plant powders that uses state-of-the-art food technology. In fact, we have study after study showing how these plant nutrients are not just in the plant powders, but actually get into your blood serum to protect you. This is the latest study, which also includes our vegan omega capsules, showing how all these nutrients increase in our blood from taking Juice Plus. Omega fats, vitamin C, vitamin E, beta carotene, and more. And all this supports not just your immune system, but every cell in your body. We could spend all night looking at the data supporting the efficacy of these plant products. In fact, there are some 20 some bioavailability studies showing that the nutrients in Juice Plus actually get into the body. You can go to juiceplus.com to see that. And there's 4 studies specifically on the immune system that have been done on 4 different populations. One was done with healthcare professionals that are in direct contact with 6 patients daily. One on elderly population who seem to have a weakened immune system in general. One on young law students stressed out during exam week, and one on athletic men. As I already discussed, too much exercise without proper nutrition can put you at risk as an athlete. All 4 studies showed how well Juice Plus supports the immune response by reducing the number of sickness days along with other markers. Then there are 5 studies on systemic inflammation parameters improving with these plant concentrates. Since I have limited time here, I will direct you to that website, and any of those green university names will actually take you directly to the clinical study. I'm a big fan of this plant technology for all these reasons and more. And I love the fact that there's all these convenient products for me and my family to get more of these plant nutrients into our body. We also try to eat right. This is a picture I took to show you what we stock up on: fruits, veggies, berries, mushrooms, beans, lentils. In other words, high fiber plant foods that supports a good gut flora. A plant-based diet and plant concentrates can increase your plant consumption to over 50 rainbow plants a day. Now it's like raining ICUs and you're earning interest. And we grow our own as well. The Tower Gardens by Juice Plus is the state-of-the-art technology that can help everyone acquire a green thumb. When thinking about food sovereignty and security, I feel really good that we own these aeroponic towers and we can grow food ourselves so easily with 1/10 the water, 1/10 the space in a closed system without any runoff to ruin the environment. Imagine having an herb or a cooking tower, or a juicing or smoothie tower, or simply a salad tower. And by the way, if you get your kids involved, they will eat what they grow. So how fast can you grow food? In as little as 21 days, you could be eating lettuce you grew in the corner of your kitchen or any small space in the house. And I also love having these lights indoors, especially in the winter, to provide some of the benefits of sunlight, especially where I live. And you can recover your costs in about 6 months' time. The company also provides a 12-month payment option without interest. So if you ever wanted to grow your own produce, this is the time. Here is not an exhaustive list of everything I've ever studied about the immune system, but some interesting papers in case you want to read up more on the topics that I just discussed. This is a picture of my family. I am so thankful that 26 years ago, I ran into Juice Plus, which altered the course of not just my health, but my understanding of how my body really works. Juice Plus was my prenatal. I had healthy pregnancies, and my kids never got ear infections, and they've grown up to be healthy adults that are very active out there in life. And I'm so thankful that I've had this nutrition for my family all this time. I hope that I also inspired you to add some more plant nutrition into your life, as well as look at these other factors that affect our immune system. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Jeff, and I just want to thank you again for joining me tonight.
Mitra, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She's a game changer, isn't she? If you haven't seen the Game Changers movie, that's your homework this weekend. You got Netflix, you're at home. Go watch Game Changers. Hashtag pound plants. You know, ICUs, it's a whole new acronym, immune currency units. I love it. Adaptive immunity. You know the saying, it's not the strongest that survive or the smartest that survive, but it's those that can adapt. And we're in sort of an adaptive time. We thought we'd end tonight with a few adaptive stories that would help sort of round out the conversation. Tonight we have Sharon Farrar, Mick Daly, and Corey Wilson to share their own adaptive adventures. Sharon, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we'd love to hear your story.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, I am just so thrilled that I learned even more from Dr. Mitra Ray tonight. You know, I learned from her 20 years ago, and I continue to learn. So very thankful. And now I'll be singing, you know, it's raining ICUs in the shower. So very excited about that new concept. And I have to say that I was not raining ICUs 20 years ago. I was a junk food eater, terrible eater if I look back. Sugary foods that were suppressing my immune system, fast foods, junk foods, you name it. And my body was run down, but I didn't think it had anything to do with that. You know, I was tired all the time. I was wondering, when is my next nap? On just a 3-hour drive to my mom's house, for instance, I would have to take a nap on that 3-hour drive. That's how run down I was. And so that was crazy. And along with that, I had allergies. So the allergies kind of ruled my life. I would talk to my mom ahead of time, even on those visits, and say, hey, what are you doing to clean the house? You know, because it really was part of my life. I'd have a Kleenex in my hand all the time. My poor husband, he'd grab my hand and he'd say, oh, I guess this is a part of us. You know, it was just life, you know. And I had gone to doctors for allergies. I had gotten allergy shots, gotten medications. Nothing was really helping. I would go to my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house. We'd play cards. They'd hand me a tissue box, hand me medications. I'd still get out of there with bleeding, running nose because they had 5 cats. So I'm happy to say we have our own cat and I'm just fine now. But back then I also had bumps on the backs of my arms. I don't know if you guys have ever had that. It's tops of my legs. If I even touched them a little bit, it would turn into this red rash and people would be like, what is happening to you, Sharon? I'd be like, oh, that's normal. You know, it was just normal. I wouldn't wear a lot of sleeveless shirts because it would really attract attention. It was really embarrassing. I had tried all the lotions from doctors, dermatologists. It didn't help. So dealing with my tiredness, my allergies, my bumps, that was all just normal for me. It was part of who I was. I didn't really worry about it too much. I had no idea that nutrition had a lot to do with that. And so what I found out is it was really an immune system problem. And because it got a lot better once I started to add more whole foods to my diet. Thank goodness my friend told me about Juice Plus, took me on a so much better path to better health. I gained that energy that I never knew I could have. And I was able to get more out of my day. I was able to drive those trips and more. Now I could go like 8 hours without stopping. I mean, I have to stop for the bathroom, but you know, without sleeping off the side of the road, which would be really dangerous once I had kids, you know? And so I'm so thankful for that. I have so much more vitality in my 50s than I ever did in my 20s, which is really unreal. So over time, I was able to get rid of the allergy shots, the Kleenex, the medications, things like that. The bumps went away. And I realized over time that the skin really is a mirror of what's happening in your body, you know? And so what I was eating which was not good, but also what I was missing, which was nutrients. So Juice Plus was able to provide me with those nutrients to make my body work better and function better. And so when I take my Juice Plus, I think of it as a tool every day for me and my family to strengthen our immune systems. It's never been on the chopping block to get rid of, because I feel like it's not like buying a vitamin or buying a supplement. It's really bought me a better body. And so just, we've made a lot of simple changes by being in this community for me and my family, and my whole family now is living a healthier life. So we'll be forever thankful. So I'm continuing to learn. Thank you so much, Dr. Mitra Ray, for tonight.
Come on, Olson, you're supposed to introduce me.
Hey, Mick. Sorry, I was on mute. Talking to myself. Mick Daly is a proper British chap. And without further ado, I wish I was in your pub right now, but take it away, sir.
I wish you were too. Come soon, Jeff. Hey, it's fun being here, and it's even more fun because if memory serves, it was exactly 27 years ago today, March 27th, 1993, that Juice Plus was born. You see, that day, my wife and I were among the privileged few to be in the room and to walk away with 2 boxes of fruit and veggie capsules, the very ones that Mitra showed us a little while ago. We beat you by about a year, Mitra. And you know what? I haven't missed a single day since. But to be serious, it was 8 years before that my father died of complications from emphysema. He'd been a lifelong smoker, and I truly wish that Juice Plus had been around when he was still alive. It could have made a big difference for him. And although I've never smoked, like him, my lungs had always been my weakness. You see, I was born with a very rare blood disease, and I always had a weak immune system. I was ICU deficient, seriously. I had lifelong asthma and bronchitis. I needed inhalers every day. Once those inhalers were invented, which was a godsend, I tell you, and I needed antibiotics 3 or 4 times every year of my life. And after 46 years of living like that, I had no reason to expect anything would be any different, ever. Then along came Juice Plus. And since that red letter day, March 27th, I've only needed antibiotics 3 times and not once for bronchitis. My asthma is a thing of the past, and so for more than 25 years, I've been able to run without needing a Ventolin inhaler. But back then, after my first 9 months on Juice Plus, I had incredible results in 2 marathons that I ran 6 weeks apart. My performance and my post-race recovery were phenomenal. And most of all, I didn't get sick. That was a first. No bronchitis, no antibiotics. And that was when I realized something amazing was happening. And you're looking back to those early days of Juice Plus, we didn't know what to expect, and no one, well, certainly not me, anticipated what I experienced, that Juice Plus supports a healthy immune system. I'm living proof of that. So here's the other funny thing. Even my taste buds have changed. You see, before Juice Plus, I would not eat anything green. Spinach? You've got to be kidding. Now I love spinach and kale and all the greens, and especially those that I picked right off my tower garden. So now at the advanced age, yes, I'm old, 73, I take no medications of any kind. I'm pretty fit and very healthy. Juice Plus simply restored my immune system. I am so thankful. And thank you, Jeff and Mitra.
Thank you so much, Mick. All right. Corey Wilson, I don't even know your story. So welcome, and tell us your adventurous, adaptive journey.
Thank you, Jeff. And just thank you, Dr. Mitra. I absolutely love learning from you. My name is Corey Wilson, and I'm coming to you from Wichita, Kansas. And I have been involved in the health and wellness industry for over 30 years in some capacity or the other. But in 1998, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And I'll tell you, the first 8 to 10 years of that was tons of medications, Remicade infusions, steroids, suppositories, and in and out of the hospital, lengthy stays with a TPN feeding tube. So that was like the first 8 to 10 years. After that, I learned to just know when to call my doctor and get extra steroids or go in for extra infusions. And you know what's really sad? I was happy with that. I learned to stay out of the hospital by knowing when I needed more medications. Then about 5 years ago, my friend Shelly called to tell me about Juice Plus. And I will have to say, with my nutrition background, that the thought of fruits and vegetables in a capsule was pretty silly sounding to me, but I couldn't argue with the research. So looking into the research and seeing all the studies on bioavailability, I knew that I didn't absorb nutrients with Crohn's disease. Everything went right through me. It supported my immune system, and it would reduce inflammation in my body. All three were huge factors with that disease. So I began taking my Juice Plus. I knew it was going to be a win-win, but I didn't expect to happen what did happen. So about 4 to 5 months into my journey, what I noticed is I was no longer having flare-ups. Like, I could have a glass of wine and not have a flare-up. I could eat a salad without a flare-up. Anytime I ate a salad, any raw fruits and veggies, it would always just tear my gut up and send me straight into a flare-up. But after about 4 to 5 months, I just noticed that none of that was ever happening. And so what I did is I started weaning myself off my medications, but I always say, don't do that without your doctor's permission. I did that one by one until I was not taking medications. And since that time, in the last 5 years, I've actually had 2 colonoscopies. Both showed that I have a very clean, healthy colon with 0 sign of disease. And you guys, I've fought this since 1998. Okay, 0 sign of disease. So, it's balanced my immune system. I'm not ICU deficient anymore. So for the last 5 years, no hospital stays, no Remicade infusions, no steroids, no suppositories. And the greatest thing is I don't have any side effects now from all the crappy medication I was throwing into my body. So I actually feel better now in my 50s than I ever did in my 30s and 40s. So I'm just very thankful. And thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much, Corey. Well, on behalf of Mitra and Sharon and Mick and Corey, I'll just wrap up with sharing my journey, and then we'll cast off into the weekend. I was introduced to this a long time ago, made immediate sense to me. My dad had his own health challenges. I guess from the standpoint of for tonight's discussion, I really have 3 sort of life lessons. And the first being, I was a professional athlete, 10 years on the U.S. ski team, couple of Olympic Games. And if athletes are in anything, they are ruthlessly practical and they will do what works. That's life lesson number 1. After I retired, I moved into investment management and in the money business. And I learned the 8th wonder of the world that Albert Einstein said, it's the compounding effect. In this case, the compounding effect of money, but the compounding effect plays out in life, and that's life lesson number 2, the compounding effect. And then I moved into startup technology, and I learned the power of disruptive innovation, and that's life lesson number 3. Several decades ago, my dad had his own health challenges, and it became a teachable moment for him. And in the depths and darkness of his body going bad, he called me up, and you get a lot of armchair quarterbacks when you're breaking down. And he asked me, "What do you think of this plant powder stuff?" It made immediate sense to me. And there's lots of intelligence. There's intellectual intelligence, mental, emotional, social intelligence, and I respond as an athlete, kind of execution intelligence. Get her done. Most of us fall short in the healthy living daily do part. I saw these plant powders as ruthlessly practical to help me and my family, bridge the gap between what we know we should be doing and what we're doing. I understood the science. I understood, made sense to me. I appreciated the science, but it took me about 1.5 years until I actually felt anything, began to feel anything. Food, I was healthy, but here's the sort of understand that food does things to the body over time. The compounding effect kicks in. There's compounding effect to healthy lifestyle. Doesn't mean much in a day, in a week, or even a month, but the compounding effect. Enter the idea of conditioning, compounding effect. There's passive health. kind of reactive passive health, and then there's the vim vigor of durable health, getting on the field of play and taking action. And the difference between those two is just nothing more than sort of authentic, enduring daily action of fundamentals. I teach human performance now, and I talk about food conditioning with plant powders, food conditioning with nutrient density. It activates stuff, it modulates stuff, it protects stuff. We can get all science and geeky, but as an athlete, it looks like faster recovery, stronger adaptive response, but greater physiological durability. I talk about human performance for anyone. Best example of human performance I can come up with is pregnancy, right? Better circulation for a diabetic, more energy all day. Here now in 2020, I think plant powders are trending, they're timely, but they are timeless. They are simple, and we're certain of their benefits. The innovation part, look, innovation, there's two kinds of innovation. There's innovation that makes old things, or excuse me, there's innovation that makes new things that make old things better. And then the disruptive kind of innovation, lesson number 3, the disruptive kind makes new things that makes old things obsolete. I think plant powders are doing that. They're delivering a food-first approach to the marketplace of ideas. It's provided me with clarity, certainty, and conditioning for 20 years. I think plant powders are going to become standard of care in medicine. They're going to become just an obvious daily duh of a healthy lifestyle, prescriptive in a regimen in athletics. And to me, they're a no-brainer if you want to pound plant matter and get higher results. This past week, a friend of mine sent me an ancient word called salah. And I'll close with this. It stands for, it means to pause, ponder, and reflect. And in this teachable moment in the time we're in, listen to your intuition, listen to your common sense, listen to that quiet voice speaking to you. You know what you need to do. And I encourage you to connect with the person that shared this education with you. Finally, I believe sort of health is one of the greatest gifts we can impart to the next generation. As a father of 3 young girls, I think health has become an adaptive trait. It is a functional skill set. It is an acquired learning in the modern era, and there's a curriculum for it. And the most correlated attribute to health turns out to be zip code, turns out to be community. And the community you all plugged in tonight, if you're a guest, we're putting points on the board. We're activating healthy living around the world. I thank you for your time. God bless. Be safe, smart, sensible, and strong. We'll see you on the field of play. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.